Hello and welcome to our first episode of Culture Shock. I am your host, Ricardo Picena, aka the Meditating Cowboy, and I'm excited for our first episode. Culture Shock, I thought it was a word I made up, and so recently I saw they made like something, some kind of show or TV show about it. But what Culture Shock means is, it has got two definitions. The first one is taking the current trends that are popular, of course, they're trending, and implementing the culture and trends that you want alongside with the ones that currently exist. I like to consider myself a hippie, and I love hippie stuff. And by hippie, I mean like I love doing yoga, breathing, exercising, pretty much anything that is natural and beneficial to the human body. And I love to implement that type of culture with the materialistic consumer culture because they both exist, and that's in our nature. But that's what culture shock to me is. That's one definition. Another one is I'm first generation Mexican American. I was raised in the hood, Dallas, Oak Cliff, and I moved to Kaufman when I was like 8 or 9 or 10, and I got made fun of. I was an extrovert in Dallas. I had a bunch of friends. When I moved to Kaufman, I just didn't have any friends, and everybody made fun of me. White, black, Mexican, Asian, everybody. Even dogs barked at me. And I didn't know how to handle that. And my parents didn't. I never discussed it with them. My parents are great parents. They just don't know how to handle some of this stuff. And and they're straight up Mexican. And by that, I mean, we're from the fucking rancho. We're from the country, like in Mexico. So my dad don't know how to read or write. He's a great, smart man. He just does not know how to read or write. He knows how to do his signature. And my mom, she only went to school for like a few years. She knows how to read or write. She's my everything, my mother, and should be my dad's everything. But let's not discuss that. And so, being that they have that characteristic inside them, talking to them about being bullied would have probably not helped at all. It probably would have made me a different person. And I'm glad who I am becoming. I am consciously making an effort to create a culture of love and prosperity while still understanding that there's the opposite. I'm not delusional. And but let me get to the intro. Now that was a little bit about me, but the intention and mission for this podcast and for my brand, The Meditating Cowboy, is to continue doing what we humans have been doing since the beginning of time, which is sharing information. What I like to emphasize on discussing what it means to be human, both our nature, physical and spiritual, while still discussing taboo and sensitive subjects. But due to our human nature, we must put dialogue and context to. That's what I consider culture shock. It might be offensive to some people, but I promise you, if you open your mind and allow yourself to take in information without actually reacting and putting some type of emotional effort behind it, I promise you will grow. And I'm very excited for that. Let me give a little more detail on my background. One thing, like I just explained, I grew up without this type of knowledge, so I think that's why I love doing this. I love being admired and looked up to for sharing some of this information. Not only that, for actually putting this information to practice, for being a loving human. I love that. It makes me feel fulfilled. I used to take pride, or my ego, which is today's topic of description is ego. But my ego, or my pride, I used to take pride in having fancy, flashy cars, swinging 26s, 28s, big dualies on wheels and shit. I still like that stuff. But as I get more perspective on where my purpose is, me investing my money in that right now would not be smart unless it had something to do with the brand. If that makes any sense. Let me tell you, I did run our family business for 12 years. I was a manager. I started off as a manager at our first location, and then I slowly helped the family expand. We have 4 locations. I was running a food truck, but it just wasn't fulfilling. And now I feel like this right here, this podcast and this sharing of information, I truly feel it within me. Like it's what I'm gonna have to make money off of. I don't want to make money off of it, but what I'm saying is I'm gonna have to sustain my basic lifestyle and still be able to record this stuff. So I actually don't have a job right now. I just, like I said, I was running a food truck, but I stopped. I have a greenhouse and I've made other investments. And like I said, I don't take pride in buying stuff to impress other people. It's not me. And if I do buy something to impress other people, it better be in the context of expanding people's mind. I'm trying to get their attention so I can splatter all this shit that I'm splattering now. It's like, hey, you're so powerful. You just got to allow yourself and put it into practice. Shit like that. That's what I get off to now. I love, that's my main enjoyment now. It's helping others help themselves through the expansion of consciousness, which is a fancy word for me. It's a fancy word through the expansion of your mind, or through opening your mind to new information. Another word for that would be by learning, and not just any learning, because we can learn kind of junk information that really don't need, but learning practical information that you can put into practice through your life and actually see a change as you go, which I love that shit. And let me see what else I got in here. I've been building a network for myself, the businesses I represent, and everyone I come interact with. Or I meet a lot of people. Some people I can kind of feel like their intention is not really to help others, but if they need my help and I have time, I will still help them, unless they're trying to hurt people. I'm not down for that. Let me tell you one more thing about me. I love being and letting be, as long as you're not hurting anybody else. That's fuck it. I don't care what you believe. I don't care who you vote for. I know some of y'all might be thinking, oh, you should. But I'm all about actions. I love our belief system. This is what I'm doing. I'm expressing what I believe. But my actions speak louder than what I'm actually saying. I'm not just talking this. I'm about this shit. And I think that's where my confidence comes from. It's like, I know I'm about it. Why wouldn't I express this? And in fact, we're only here temporary. Why not impact as many people as you can, especially if it's fulfilling you? I'm just saying this is recent stuff that I'm learning about myself. So I'm trying to be as vulnerable, as authentic as possible, so I can get some type of engagement from y'all and allow y'all to open up and be who you truly are. Because I can't cast judgment. Even when I do, I know we're a reflection of each other. So I immediately started, well, if that's in me, what do I not like that about me? And from there, just my gears keep turning, and then I go on to something else. So I definitely enjoy sharing that information for that reason, to help us expand in that way, to help us grow as humans, because overall we are that. I think I said this. I love to explain my perspectives from knowledge I've come across. I don't necessarily believe all, most, or any of it, other than love is the answer, and the rest are speculations. And since I'm always growing, I'm constantly changing my mind. And of course, that's the result of growing. You have to. As new knowledge comes in, it's like, oh shit, that means that this knowledge no longer works. So I'm going to implement this knowledge, see how it works in my life. Now this knowledge becomes obsolete. It's no longer needed, or it's no longer used because something better and newer came in. That's how I see life. And I feel like people with that mindset are always growing. And I know it's hard. Believe me, it's hard. It's hard to keep your mind open when you have a reality, you believe it, and it helps and it works for you. Another thing I want to touch in, and not in this podcast, is language shapes perception. I truly believe we're on the same path, doing little different things, trying to reach the same goal. And I feel like we're just using different language. Some people use religious terminology. Some people use scientific terminology. Some people just use fucking hood terminology, which I understand all that. Like, because I feel like we're going through the same shit using different words to explain it. And depending on your ego, your self-image, that will depend on how open you are to taking in their perspective and even being empathetic towards it. You know what I mean? Because if you're not even listening to them, you're like, you know what I mean? Get that shit away. And which I love when people open up and listen. You know what I mean? That's one of my struggles. I have it on my dream board. Listening is one of my struggles. I listen, but if somebody says something and it clicks, I'm like, automatically, I'm like, oh shit, they just gave me that piece to that puzzle. And I'm like, start drifting. I'm like, oh shit, my bad, we were still talking. But I'm working on that, and I'm slowly growing. And I feel like as I slow down in life, I'm not chasing money. I feel like as I do that and actually chasing strong relationships and building love and just experiencing the moment, you know, the human experience, just grasping on it, I can really sense, you know, like the universe or God or the quantum field, whatever language you use to describe your higher self. It's just, I feel that when I'm in that mindset. So it becomes an addiction. Like, it really does. Like I said, most of this stuff works for me at that time. I do believe that when we're communicating with each other, we should keep in mind of each other's dialogue, context, and intent before reacting. That is my current goal as well. I don't necessarily react like you can't say that or anything like that. I really don't react in that way, because I truly believe people deserve their space to speak. Now, I know a lot of us some of us just kind of gibber on dumb shit, which everything is a matter of perspective. Everything I just said from this moment back, subjectively, you can say it was dumb shit. Like, so it's always a matter of perception, which means it's always a matter of how you see things. And from my little research, I heard, not really sure, I haven't dug into it, but professionals are saying oversimplifying quantum mechanics or quantum physics is your subjective point of view will change your objective reality. Your subjective reality will change your objective reality. And so that means you basically create your own reality through the way you see the world. And the way you see the world are basically programs that have been programmed before you reach this age of me telling you. Before this very moment, if you didn't know that, everything before this were programs in your mind, either put by you or by others. And then now if you're aware of that and you're actually trying to make a conscious effort to change some of them, you're going to notice and you'll be like, oh, that's not me. Like, I'm going to change that one. You should at least. It took me a long time. I'm still going through it. I just knowing the path and walking the path, two totally different things. And this right here is me trying to walk the path. You know, I'm a little limping. And but yeah, this is my main enjoyment now. I don't enjoy making money off of other people's back. And this, like I said, this podcast being my attempt to sustain my lifestyle while bringing value to everyone. And yeah, without further ado, now that this intro is done, the podcast description, the main thing is going to be ego. And taboo or sensitive subject will be racism. Oh, I'm fucking straight going in on the first episode. So the first topic, of course, will be ego. And I'm going to explain everything from my point of view. And like I said before, I'm not necessarily saying that it's the right way, the only way, or if it's just what works for me, has been working for me. And from my research, it is what my intellectual mind has pieced together. We'll see. Let me take a little sip, a little drink. Oh yeah, I always carry this half a gallon jug with me everywhere. It's got lemon, lime, and water, ice. Gotta stay hydrated. So ego, from my point of view, ego is your self-image, the way you see yourself. But it's not just that basic. It can be selfless or selfish. The way you see yourself will in turn come out as actions. So those actions will either be selfless or selfish. You're either acting out of like love to help others, or you're acting out of trying to help others, or you're acting out of you're trying to do something for your own gain. Again, I'm not saying either or is good or bad. This is just for us to take in and to actually piece together, what does that mean to you? You know what I mean? Because if you're a human being, you have an ego. So if you have an ego, you have a self-image. You have a self-image, that means you have a way you see yourself. The way you see yourself, it's either like it's not just one or the other. It's not either selfless or selfish, but that's like the semantics of everything else. The way, like my hat, my shirt, everything I'm wearing was on purpose because I want to be perceived that way. And it goes along with my brand, the Meditating Cowboy hat, cowboy. And but some of us don't. We go through life unintentionally knowing this, and it could be harmful to others and yourself, which is why I'm sharing information. So if you're open for it, you can actually practice it. Like, oh, if I have a way I see myself, well, how do I see myself? You can start by writing stuff down, just contemplating over it, seeing what you think is good or bad. Pretty much, I would say the foundation for me now is love. What I put in perspective what I think love is, and then I go from there. And then once I have my foundation, okay, if I'm trying to build healthy self-image or an ego, and my foundation is love, then my actions must meet my expectations. So I got to act in accordance to my new image. So instead of being that guy that was an asshole, I mean, I sometimes still an asshole, don't get me wrong, but not really. Like I'm consciously trying not to be. I'm trying to take pride, I'm trying to take ego, or I'm trying to take create my self-image. I'm trying to take pride in not doing that. And since, like I said earlier, everything's a matter of how you see the world. If I start seeing things that way, I'll slowly start reacting in that way. And I really have. It gives me, each interaction that I don't like gives me a chance to be a better person. Basically, it's like, quiet down, RP. Do not respond in that petty way that you want to answer. Nah, you better slow down. And yeah, ego is that. Oversimplified, nothing. Because when I first got introduced to my spiritual path, I thought ego was bad. I had to kill the ego. I was like, I gotta fucking murder this motherfucker. Man, that was a fucking loop. You are your ego. You are your self-image. How can you can't? Like, nature's gonna do that. We're all gonna go. Just enjoy the human life while you're here now. But I love that knowledge of knowing that I had an ego. If I would have been told that from the beginning, well, actually, no. I love everything. I feel like I had to experience that fucking ego of like a huge ego. I'm like, look at my fucking wheels and whatever money and all this bullshit. Whatever dumb shit that I was taking pride in. I had to go through that. It was a hell of a good time, except for the bad time. It's like when you hit that brick, I'm like, wait, this isn't who I am. Like, once you start noticing this isn't who I am, like, if I didn't have a big ego, my depression, this is speculations, my depression would have got worse. But since I had a big ego, I was arrogant enough to not let myself get too depressed, enough to know, hey, wait, I can get out of this. And then that's where I came through my spiritual awakening. I was like, oh wait, there's nothing special about me that isn't about others. It's just what makes me special in my eyes is that I'm willing to put in some of this work to become a better human being, a better perspective. I'm not saying we're not worthy enough. You're enough now. If you think you have a bad ego, and then do something about it. That's all you really can do. Do not feel sorry for yourself. Feeling sorry for yourself is the opposite of ego, basically. Like feeling like worthless is the opposite of having a big ego, like I think I'm great. So you definitely want to balance it out. You know what I mean? Don't think that you're not worth it. but don't think you're better than others. Here's a little thing that I like. I think very highly of myself, but I do not think I'm better than others. The difference is I don't have to bring down other people to see the greatness in myself. You know what I mean? And that's a healthy ego to me. Once I actually took in that perspective, I'm like, okay, I like this. It makes me feel good. And again, there's nothing special about me that isn't about you. And all you have to do is put some of this stuff to practice if you're going through some shit. My main thing is I'm trying to eliminate unnecessary suffering. So I had to create a better ego. I was tired of suffering. My past ego was hurting me. It wasn't who I was no more. You can't sustain a body and then mind that can't sustain the body. You know what I mean? It's just the mind was fucked up. And that's like what makes us move. You know what I mean? So, yeah, be mindful of your ego. Keep balanced. Somebody I highly recommend to listen to is Alan Watts. Alan Watts, oh my God. It's like he came onto my YouTube page right on time. Y'all believe in synchronicities? Do y'all believe everything happens for a reason? Or random shit's just happening? Either way, it's always up to you to decide. And those are very critical, you know what I mean, points of views, because that's that's the foundation of how you're going to live your life. If you think the universe is out there to help you by you implementing practical things, then guess what's going to happen? That's right, you're going to manifest shit, good shit. Probably bad shit too, but nonetheless, you have a foundation where you can come back and regain perspective and pick yourself back up. And I would say if you think shit randomly happens and shit is meaningless, then I would feel like you're going to live your life that way because, again, your reality is shaped by your perception, the way you see the world. So if you're seeing the world in that way, I would say that it's, I understand why the world is the way it is, because some of us have a weak self-image or the way we see the world, and it affects the rest of the people. The ripple effect. It's true. I think Meredith Meir said, "Don't ever underestimate the." I'm gonna fuck this quote up, but don't ever underestimate a group of community people trying to make a change. In fact, that's all that has changed the world is a group of people. I can't remember. I told you I was gonna fuck it up, but long story short is the fact that don't ever underestimate the power of you or one person, and you should help yourself empower other people as well. Help yourself and then empower other people. Create your own brand, your own reputation. And I feel like it's a great thing to add to the world. You know what I mean? Especially where people's perspectives are always constantly being manipulated through our medias. That's us. I'm taking full responsibility. Us humans. Relatable. Let me see. And for me, what gives me confidence onto the next subject, which is I'm gonna explain to y'all how I see people, how I see humans, and or how I see the world. Actually, I think everybody's an artist, and we are all acting. We're all portraying how we want to be seen, whether you're aware of it or not, whether it's positive or negative. You know what I mean? I see that, like, and some of us, I am aware that some of us don't know that, but that's not up to me. My job for me that I gave myself in this world, my purpose is to, of course, empower others and empower them by asking maybe empowering questions or letting them know that they're worth it and making sure that they don't bring themselves down, because sometimes we're programmed to do that. And language shapes perception, which is going to be another topic for a different podcast. But basically what that means is the way you say words is going to shape the way other people hear it and see it. And that's what I emphasize in this podcast, is to be sure to take into consideration my dialogue, my context, and especially my intention. And that way we can grow together faster, and you can be empowered, and you can empower me, and we can empower everybody else through our actions. That's can't emphasize on how much that means to me. But being an artist is not the normal way of life. You create, you know what I mean? I believe everybody's an artist because we create. We create our emotions, our feelings. We create events, which in turn bring people, and then you create a culture of whatever you're trying to create or sell, if you're trying to sell stuff. But regardless, your words and your actions have so much power. And I enjoy getting ignorant, saying dumb shit. I don't, before I touch on the taboo subject, I believe in racism. I know ignorance is out there. I believe there's a foundation again to it. And I like getting ignorant in that way. I don't say it in the intent to hurt people. I don't even say it all the time. I just say, dumb shit. Some of us say dumb shit. Like, I can't really think of anything right off the bat. And but that's not the point. The point to me is we should take in consideration the dialogue, the context, and the intention, like, before we react. That way you're actually don't try to start stuff with someone who's actually trying to help you, or even if somebody's trying to bring you down, you can have a healthy ego and take this situation into your hands and control of your own self. But onto our taboo or sensitive topic, which is racism is ignorance, or nescience, which is ignorance is knowing something but ignoring it, and nescience is actually completely not knowing it. And I think it's a little bit of both. I think racism is a little bit of both. I think it's ignorance because if you don't understand that you are a human being first, whatever label you give yourself, whatever ego, whatever self-image you give yourself after that, will build your foundation to your reality. And of course, if I have a big imagination, I can just go on. But using your imagination, if you label yourself, let's take in consideration white supremacists. If you label yourself a white supremacist, like a human being, he or she does not know any better, truly hates everybody that they're programmed to hate. If we see it from a third person point of view, this human being is being ignorant to the fact that he's a human being first. You know what I'm saying? So of course, all these programs, this is human being, and then that should be the foundation. And then, but it didn't start there. It started like this human being was taught that they were a white supremacist and they should hate. So they bypass this. They're ignoring that they're human, which is cool too if they want to. But we already know what happens when a certain group does that. Sooner or later, if you don't see yourself as a human, whatever category you categorize yourself as, you're gonna start. People are not your group. That's not from there. As you grow bigger, hopefully it's not a hate group. You're gonna, you know what I mean? When it's a hate group, we already know what happens. They start pushing people away. They start more hate. Certain races are not allowed in their culture or in their organizations. We already seen this. We know this stuff, right? We know that certain people have certain beliefs, and that's what I'm trying to get to right now. Racism is just ignorance. You're ignoring the fact that you're a human first. And in fact, it don't matter if you're a Christian. It don't matter if you're a Catholic. It don't matter if you're a government agent. You're a human being first. If you think, oh, I'm police officer so-and-so, you better pull your ass over. And you totally forget that you're a human being first, and you start treating this human being you pulled over less because of their car looks ugly, the way they talk to you. It don't fucking matter. That human being is just being ignorant. And that's all we are doing, I feel like. Everybody who ignores the fact that they're a human being first and is spreading hate, what they really are doing is being ignorant. I mean, I'm not trying to offend nobody. If you're like, if the shoe fits, or if the hat fits, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to wear it. But it's not to cause hate or harm to you, or to bring. It is to make you aware of your power, what it has, just you alone. Now imagine a bunch of yous, bunch of people with the same beliefs. You can think of both positive and negative. If you had a bunch of people into positive beliefs, their positive impact in the world would be great. It should be. And of course, hate, we already know what happens. And yeah, I will go ahead and let y'all know that I am still very ignorant of what left and right wing means on purpose. I consciously do not allow myself to know what it means, because all I see is humans. All I see is humans under this illusion of separation. Oh, I'm a left guy, or I'm a right guy, or it's just like how I know why they don't see themselves as humans first, but to me it's like, how do I teach these kids? Oh my God, we really are grown kids. I'm a grown fucking kid. And another thing that I'm gonna be having on the podcast is the empowering question of the day. What's one daily conscious effort you do to bring a positive impact on the world? For me today, I gave thanks for this human experience, and basically being optimistic. And I feel like being optimistic is a positive impact for the rest of the world, because although we know we have the same ending, as humans, we all have the same ending in this world. How we choose to live in between life and death will say more about us. And for me, with all the mass shootings and the mental illnesses that I see out there in the world, being optimistic and sharing my gratitude and being the change I want to see is, for me, is a huge positive impact to the world, because that's one less person out there trying to take some of these and shoot people, or whatever their mind can imagine to hurt people. That's one less person. And if I can touch and reach people, that to me will be amazing. But yeah, that's my positive impact for today, one of them. And I hope to continue doing more. And I would like to give away some Meditating Cowboy stickers. If you don't even have to follow me, but if you actually send me your email address along with your name and mailing address, I can send you some Meditating Cowboy stickers. And I am very grateful for y'all for making time and allowing me to put my perspective in this. I hope I brought some value and empowered y'all. I did make an outro. I really truly feel this is true. We humans are loved unconditionally so much that we are allowed to believe we are not. And I just want to remind y'all that you should love yourself unconditionally and empathetically. And I would love for y'all to look up words that y'all don't understand. Their definition means a lot. It will shape your reality. Being empathetic is like relating to others and feeling their feelings and understanding them from that point of view, and then coming at them from that point of view. And if you love yourself unconditionally and you're empathetically, I have no doubt that that's a good formula to create a positive culture of love and prosperity in this world. Of course, I'm not ignorant to the fact that there's hate out there. There's always going to be. How will you know about love if there isn't any? But this human experience is wonderful in that way. It allows us to be who we want to be. And I truly feel if we really, really, truly care, we can start by being the change we want to see. It's so easy to complain. It's a lot harder to actually do.